now we are seeing more and more and more opportunities. So we have nurse coaches working in hospital, working in bedside, in leadership, in management, in education. Some of them are stepping into new roles so that they can have more of an impact and more fulfillment. Welcome back, nurses and nurse coaches. Thanks for joining us. Peter, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Stoked for today's episode where we're going to be talking about how to become a nurse coach.
That's right, how to become a board certified nurse coach and have the most fun while doing so.
100%, yeah. So, over the past couple of episodes, we did a little bit of an introduction about who we are, the Nurse Coach Collective, what nurse coaching is, a little bit about our story. And then we spent our last episode talking about why nurse coaching matters, why it matters to our patients, to our profession, a little bit about why it matters to our planet.
How it's changing the world.
How it's changing so much, a complete paradigm shift. I feel like I'm starting to get in my groove.
Yeah, we knew this. We knew it was going to take some time. We got to get comfortable.
But I put on my comfy sweater again. I feel good in this thing.
I put on my slippers.
I'm ready. Yeah, here we go. So episode 3 here today, we're talking about how to become a nurse coach, how to go from nurse to board certified nurse coach in just a few months with us at the Nurse Coach Collective.
7 months to be exact.
7 months-ish, to be exact-ish, yeah. And what that looks like, how that transpires. And so, yeah, want to just get into it?
I do. I want to remind everyone that at this point, we have about 2,500 nurse coaches who have taken our training and graduated. And what I want this episode to be, in addition to a description of what our program is and what the course is all about, yes, I want this to also really be the story of these thousands of nurses who have come before, the story of these thousands of nurses who really have chosen to trust us and to trust the Nurse Coach Collective with their personal growth, their professional development, because that's not something we take lightly.
Yeah.
It's like our deepest honor and privilege to be a part of these journeys.
I think I really just got to the why of why I'm doing this podcast, and that is to tell their story. Tell the story of me, you, us, of the thousands of nurse coaches, and of nurse coaching. And this is our story, collectively. And I think that's what I want to talk about on all of these episodes in some way, shape, or form. So let's start with the what.
It's our nurses. It's our nurse coaches who are doing the most incredible things and having their own lives change and going on to transform the lives of others. That's what hits. That's why we do this work. And as you said, I think there it is. There's the point of why we're here. Got it.
Hell yeah. Awesome.
So interview me. I love talking about the program. Put me on a phone with any nurse, get me on a video conference, and I can literally talk for hours and hours about our program. In fact, I did that last night, talking for an hour and a half nonstop until I realized I don't think I've ever talked that much in my life about this program because I get fired up. So anything you want to know, anything you want to share, ask me.
Share me the bare bones. Share me like the skinny of it. Tell me what it looks like if I am a nurse who's new to this work, who wants to become a nurse coach with the Nurse Coach Collective. How's that transpire?
Well, first things first. You will quickly find, as you explore our website and all of the free resources that we provide you with, that there's literally no way for you to go from looking at our website and watching some fun videos and learning about nurse coaching to immediately being able to enroll and sign up to become a nurse coach. There's a step that needs to happen before you can get to that point, which is to have an application call with somebody on our team and speak directly to a nurse coach, somebody who is a professional in this field. They represent, whatever their avenue for professional nurse coaching practice, and they're a graduate of the program. So they have been through this exact journey before. Now, the reason why I start with this and I say that this is so important is because before I even care to tell you about all of the details of the program and how it's set up and the time commitment and curriculum and all that stuff, what is so much more important to me is to have an understanding of you as the individual nurse and what is it that is calling you, pulling you towards nurse coaching. what is your why, right? We spent all of our last episode talking about what our why was becoming a nurse coach. I want to know what your why is. Why are you drawn to this field? Where are you currently dissatisfied in your nursing role, or where are you hoping to grow? And what do you want to get out of this? And so the reason for that call is, yes, to go over all of the logistics and the details, which hopefully we'll get through a ton of those today. But more importantly, it's to make sure that you get a chance to have a really personal interaction with a nurse coach so that you get to understand what this field is all about. And so that we get to understand what you're all about and what your goals are, so we can make sure, 100% sure, that it is an awesome fit. Because I don't want any nurse to jump into a nurse coaching program who isn't going to love it, who isn't going to get what they came for. So that's what that call is all about. So that's step one.
Step one is hopping on the phone with me, you, somebody from our team, and doing exactly what you said there.
And to be clear, that's the 100% free, no obligation phone call. Like, this is something that we have felt from the very beginning of creating the Nurse Coach Collective. We have felt that this needs to be available for every single nurse who is interested in this field, to not feel that they have to pay a cent to find out about nurse coaching. You get to hop on a call and jam and get excited and go from there. See if it feels good.
Yeah. And I think that's also important to make sure that every nurse who is in the program is excited and enthusiastic and, motivated to do this work, because not every single nurse wants to become a nurse coach. And that's perfectly okay.
I don't know why they wouldn't, but
that's perfectly okay. But it's important to us to make sure that the people who are in the program, the nurses who are in the program, are as excited and motivated as maybe me. Excited as me. I want everybody to be learning alongside of, others who are going to be lifting them up. So yeah, step one, take the call. And then step two is really to enroll and, choose that start date. And we have about 4 per year, about a cadence of about once every quarter, we have a start date. And the reason that we have that start date rather than just being open enrollment is because it's important to go through a learning experience like this with colleagues, with a cohort, with somebody there to guide you. And that success of that model is in the results of it, which is a 94% completion rate of our training. But getting a little bit ahead of myself. So
no, but you already said it, so let's go with it, because
94% completion rate.
94% completion rate of a 7-month program where nurses, like, we know as well as anyone, within a 7-month period, life happens.
Y'all are busy, working full time, raising families, doing things, vacations. Yes.
And when you look at most online programs out there, like most online education programs, the completion rate is abysmal. Like in the 30%, is that what you said? Oh, lower than that?
Below 10%.
Okay, you're the stat man.
It's super, super low. I mean, it's hard to grab statistics on that, but it's incredibly low.
Yeah. So it's incredibly high, and it's something that we're incredibly proud of.
Because we're committed to it.
Pass rate.
We are so committed to it. So talk to me a little bit, Heather, about what the program entails.
Before I do that, I want to start with the overview of just making sure it's really clear that the journey itself, in terms of what you sign up for, is this 7-month program. So it's divided into 30 weeks and 30-ish weeks. Well, we always leave some room to play in the moment just in case anything changes between the time of recording and the time of listening. So 7-ish months, 30-ish weeks.
There you go.
And what you are doing in that time frame is you are getting all of your educational hours and all of your practicum hours so that you have completed all of the things that you need to be eligible to sit for board certification in nurse coaching. As a bonus, you're also eligible to sit for a second board certification in holistic nursing. So it's 1 course, 2 board certifications, all these extra fancy letters after your name. And that's the package. That's what you need to know as a whole that you're signing up for.
It gives you everything you need to really come to be awesome as a nurse coach.
Yes.
To understand the art and science of human change, of lifestyle, and how to help people to better their lives over the long term in a sustainable way, while also, finding that fulfillment in our own lives. So
while you learn to do that.
Well, you learn to do that yourself as well. And yeah, I think that's something that I'm really proud of is how we've set it up to not just be a professional training, but it also really changes the lives of us nurses. I mean, I know when I went through my training to become a nurse coach, everything shifted. Like everything completely changed for me on so many different levels. And we've seen that over and over and over again in the lives of the nurses that we've served. So,
but also, shh, you're not supposed to be telling nurses this is like a personal growth experience. The reason for that is simply that we know that, so many nurses, we put ourselves on the back burner. And sometimes nurses sign up for this course, especially because they want that personal growth side of it. But very often, the personal growth is not necessarily what we're looking for, right? It's the professional growth. Yes. It's becoming a nurse coach. It's having all of this freedom and flexibility and room for more income. And we like to say it's like we sneak in the personal growth, like at all of these different areas, so that you are in tandem, growing professionally and growing personally. One way or another, like it or not, it's going to be a part of your process. But I think it really surprises the nurses who go through this course. And we've seen that over and over again from some of the reviews and the testimonials, as they say, well, I expected to become a really great health and wellness coach. I did not expect how much I was going to grow, how much my life was going to improve, how much my kids were going to notice, my partner was going to notice, and all of these things too. So really, we believe that's one of the most important and one of the most unique things, is to have it be that joint process of growth.
Heck yeah. So go to the Nurse Coach Collective website, peruse it, sign up for that call, learn about the program, chat with a nurse coach in real time, get all the questions answered, choose the start date. And then you recognize that, as you move through the program, you will ultimately achieve all of the contact hours, all of the learning to be eligible to sit for the board certification in nurse coaching and or the board certification in holistic nursing, while also, learning everything that you need to practice masterfully as a nurse coach, and, experiencing those dual elevation of personal and professional growth, because it's so inextricably interconnected.
And, I don't think that we need to spend an enormous amount of time here going over all of the details of the curriculum, simply because that's so easy to access online. And if you've listened to the last couple of episodes, everything that we've been talking about in terms of what nurse coaching is, the tools, the techniques, the way that we help people get from where they are to where they want to be, breaking through resistance, right? Knowing how to actually help someone be successful in creating new habits and implementing change. All of those things are part of the curriculum. But what I do think is really important, and what I want the takeaway to be about the curriculum, is that it's really important to know that you're not just learning the knowledge and you're not just learning the theory. And instead, what you're going through as you walk through this journey inside of the program is that you're learning how to take all of those pieces of information and put them into practice, and to put them into practice almost immediately. Like 1.5 months into the program is when we begin the practicum, and you begin working with your peers and you begin working with your pro bono private clients, because that's how nurses learn best, right?
Experiential learning.
Experiential learning. Let's get our hands dirty. And I think that's really different from the ways that many programs are set up and the way that a lot of nursing education is delivered, right? It's like, read this textbook, memorize these theories, regurgitate this information, write me a research paper.
And then go out into the clinical setting and freak out because it's nothing like what you and I was in the textbook. So
exactly.
We like to find that balance and, make sure that they're learning in a way that's very experiential.
I mean, there are a couple other things that really make this program insanely unique. I'm sure you have some things that are on your mind, but
tell me yours.
Well, on that topic of, how some other programs are set up versus this one, I think one of the really nice things is that we don't believe in regurgitating information. We don't believe in busy work. Nurses are tremendously busy, and the last thing,
no time for that.
No, the last thing we want to do is add busy work. So instead, everything that you are doing, everything that you're learning in the program is something that you want to be learning, something that you're interested in, something that you're passionate about. All of the written work that you're doing, it's a discussion forum right inside of this most amazing learning platform, super easy to use, super interactive. So you're always like right there engaging with your peers, getting to know each other, posting videos, posting pictures, getting feedback from your instructor. It's like the most engaging way fun way to learn something nursing related that I've ever seen. Because I actually don't know if you've ever been in a...
Not just us.
Not just us.
This is part of my quarterly process. This is one of my favorite things to do.
Here he goes, opening up the laptop.
To review testimonials, I guess, but it's really reviews of nurses who have gone through this training, and it's...
Are you gonna read some?
Yeah, I'll read a few because it lifts me up and it helps me like still feel really, really, sometimes you can get lost in the weeds. And I think it's just,
We can.
I know I sure can, because there's a lot that goes into making something of this caliber, like a lot behind the scenes that isn't necessarily here right now. Like, for instance, even putting this freaking thing on the TV took a little bit longer than it should have.
Okay, in a future episode, we'll talk about what it's like to be Peter and Heather on the back end of the business.
Yes, so this really helps me to stay connected, and I think it's important to hear. My transformation was nothing short of amazing. This program is where passion meets purpose. This class has been metamorphic, I didn't know that was a word, completely changed the trajectory of my nursing career, finally a journey in nursing that I want to be on. I can't think of any nurse who wouldn't benefit from this. Don't wait, there is hope for healthcare. We were talking about hope on the last episode. Phenomenal journey. The course gives you the tools to create change within yourself and others. And I think this is craziness, but sometimes I think it's awesome to show just like all of these videos. And so I think what's important is to like not just listen to me and Heather, but to go on here and to watch just a few of these testimonials, a few of these videos, because they're nurses. These are nurses who are real people from all over the continent, all over the globe, who have gone through this. And they were much like us when we began our journey to become nurse coaches. And now, like through something as seemingly simple as a continuing ed program, everything shifted for them in their career. And that's just a start. Like that's the outcome of the training. I think what we're not really talking about is like what's possible. What's possible beyond this training, right? We talked about kind of what it looks like to sign up, what the training looks like from a didactic and experiential perspective. And you're awesome at this, which is
what is it? Talking
about the possibilities inside of the fields. Like what's possible for me as a nurse coach? Is this real? Can I make money doing this? Do you think that's worth going into?
Heck yeah, absolutely.
We can touch on it without like covering every single base, because I think we got episodes. We got episodes coming where we can go into, all those individual components far more in depth, but yeah.
So yes, I think that is definitely worth talking about, just in terms of like what's possible, what are nurse coaches doing, because that's the biggest question that I think most nurses have entering into this field, right? They're excited about the idea of nurse coaching. They're passionate about the underlying philosophies. They want to be connected to an amazing community, but there are still inevitably going to be some of these questions, right? Like, but what's the end result? So I'm going to grow professionally, so I'm going to grow personally. Those are very abstract. But what can I actually do as a nurse coach? What do I get to be? What are the roles that I get to fill? Can I make a living doing this? Will I still be fulfilled? All of these questions that I think, as you said, we'll explore in more detail, but we do need to talk about them on a broad level right now. And at the same time, I think there are some other things about the program that make it really unique that just remind me, because I want to be able to circle back to them.
Let's hit them first.
Hit them first?
Yeah, let's finish all the details on the program and then circle back to possibilities. What would they be?
There are some things about this course that are so incredibly special and unique, and if we don't say them here, then I'm afraid that somebody might not know them or might not be able to tease them out of the website, even though we've desperately tried to make everything so super clear on that one page. What I was talking about before was how interactive and how engaging and how fun the program is and the online experience. And I think it really surprises people, because I actually don't know if you've ever taken an online program before, but I have, and I've taken
so many online programs.
Okay, all right. Sorry.
You've seen me take online programs.
Okay, you're right, but I meant in the nursing world.
I've taken online programs.
Okay. Well, then we're both probably in this. But my experience with online courses and online nursing courses in particular has not been very good. They've been dry. I just kind of want to sit there and go click through module. And it's, for the purpose of passing and getting credit. It's not for the purpose of connecting. And so what our nurses tell us, in addition to some of those amazing reviews that you just read is that it doesn't feel like continuing education. It doesn't feel like school. We have nurses who get off night shift and they're like, this is what I look forward to doing.
This is my break. This feels like my mini vacation every day.
This is what I look forward to doing before I go to sleep after night shift, because I just love gobbling up this material and I love connecting with people. So just how fun it is, I think, is one thing that is super unique.
I think we were very intentional about that.
Yes.
Because I want it to be like that.
If it's not fun, then what's the point?
Life's so short. It should be awesome.
Yes.
It should be fun. Like, if you're learning new things and you want to be learning this work, then it should be a good time.
It should be a great time. So there's that aspect of it. And then I think the other piece is the community and how incredible the community is. And I hope by now we have almost talked this point to death, but I will never stop talking about, I'll never stop talking about how awesome the nurses in this community are. And the fact that you get one very small, cohesive community of about 30-ish nurses to be in your online cohort. And then on top of that, and in addition to, you and me being there in all of the modules, each cohort has a specific nurse coach, a guide to hold the hand of every single one of those 30 students and make sure that nobody can ever slip through the cracks, that nobody can ever fall behind, that they're always so relentlessly supported. I mean, I've never experienced anything like that actually, even in nursing school, right? In these in-person classes, I've never experienced support and a cohesive collective desire for everyone to succeed and enjoy the process as I've seen happen here.
Heck yeah. Anything else floating around that you want to talk about?
I don't know. What do you think is the coolest part? What do you think is like the coolest part of this program, the thing that sets it apart from any other program out there?
If you really want to change and you really want to learn something in a different way, like, you have to be there with other people who are as stoked as you, and where the information is like really there and it's promoting this like new way of thinking. And when you're doing that in community, when you have that support and when the information is really awesome and when you want to do it, and I think that's the big shift there, is like every single nurse in this program is here because of choice. It's not here because like they need to do this or because they have to click it off. It's because they're here by choice. And I think there's just this deep sense of passion and purpose and inspiration that comes from like the second that you say yes to the journey. And I think that's what creates the momentum. I think it's this like group effort and this deep intentionality on our part in designing it in a very specific and certain way, and continuing every single cohort, every single collective to iterate and improve it. But there's this group collective intention to just make it really, really incredible journey, from start to finish and then beyond.
And I think that's the part that's hard to put into words. It's like, and I get a little bit emotional and I start to get goosebumps when we talk about that, because we can bullet point this out all day, right? You get this incredible world-class curriculum. You get all of this practice, so that it's not just theory, but it's the hands-on learning as well. You get this amazing community. You get stellar support. You get everything that you need for board certification. And it's more than that. Yeah. And it should be more than that. It's like one of the most profound 7-month journeys that you can possibly go on if you're open to it, and if that's what you're looking for. And I think that is why you're able to scroll through, open up that laptop and scroll through hundreds and hundreds of nurses who are not just willing to, write their experiences, but record a video of their experience and tell all the other nurses about it. It's because of the journey that is harder to put into words, but is so profound to feel and to experience.
I love it. Thanks for saying that. So I think we talked about the program. I think the invitation is like, go nursecoachcollective.com, search for us, check it out, do your own research, and just get on the phone, man. Like, it's literally nothing to lose. Just please show up for the call when you schedule the call. That's like the only thing that we ask. But yeah, we love to offer that because we're just so committed to this. And, I think that's part of it, like part of what we're doing. We have a lot of other amazing things happening inside of the Nurse Coach Collective, but let's keep the focus here right now and take a super brief detour into possibilities.
Yes. Okay, let's go back to possibilities.
Possibilities, is this real? Can I actually do this? Can this be part of my professional world?
Well, I think what's pretty wild is that when we ran our first couple of collectives, like 5-6 years ago, there were options for nurse coaches, but they were fewer and further between, so that nurse coaches had to work harder to make a name for themselves, right? So whether that's to find a position that already existed, or to establish themselves in private practice, or even just to get their hospital or organization to recognize what they were doing, to recognize the title of nurse coaching, to allow them to implement it where they were at. It wasn't impossible, and our nurse coaches had incredible success regardless, but it was more challenging. And
because it was still fringe.
Because it was still fringe.
And in 5 years, it's crazy how it's gone from fringe to mainstream.
Yes, exactly. And so now what we are seeing, and I think this is why we're constantly saying, like, there has never been a better time to get into this field, is because now we are seeing more and more and more opportunities, right? So we have nurse coaches working in hospital, working in bedside, in leadership, in management, in education. Some of them are stepping into new roles, while others are happy where they're at in their current role, but they're simply taking everything they learn from nurse coaching, implementing it into their current role so that they can do it better, so that they can have more of an impact and more fulfillment.
And it changes you. It changes how you show up. I mean, how many times have we heard nurses be like, I didn't even change anything. I didn't switch my role. I didn't change my hours, but everything has shifted for me in my practice. I feel more connected to my patients. I feel more connected to my work. I'm doing what I want to be doing as a nurse. And that's without changing anything other than infusing the art and science of nurse coaching into your day-to-day practice. And, that's like the immediate result is you don't have to shift anything. You don't have to change anything in your practice. All you have to do is take what you're learning and infuse it into your work.
Which you're going to do automatically. You're going to be incredibly hard pressed not to infuse nurse coaching into your life, your work, your relationships, because it just becomes part of who you are. It becomes second nature. I think that piece was really surprising to me, because when I became a nurse coach, I sort of already knew that I wanted to exit the hospital and start my own practice, and we wanted to do that together. But I was really surprised by the fact that my favorite year of being an ICU nurse was the year that I was also a nurse coach. After I had finished my training, it was like I just had this whole new way of showing up for my job and showing up for my patients and supporting them. And I would have nurses with decades of more experience than I had sit outside my room. I remember this. Rhonda, my favorite charge nurse, she was so awesome. Rhonda, hope you're listening. Shout out to you, my mentor. And I walked out of a patient room, and she kind of looked at me and she was like, "What was that?" And for a moment, I thought I was in trouble. I was like, "Uh-oh." She was like, "No, what was that you just did in there?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" She was like, "I don't know, that conversation, that connection." And that's when it dawned on me that, like, being a nurse coach in a hospital setting was different. Like, just that in and of itself was already a different way to practice. And it was awesome. I ended up really loving my job and loving my work that I was able to do, and being able to inspire my coworkers. That was like an added bonus. But then there's also the nurse coaches who are creating entirely new roles in their hospitals, in clinics. They are getting hired into insurance companies, some of the biggest insurance companies out there, like Kaiser, like Aetna, like Moda, Blue Cross Blue Shield, hiring nurse coaches on to keep people out of the hospital. And it win-win for us all. Win for the insurance companies, win for nurses, win for our patients, because ultimately that's what we all want.
Yes.
We have nurse coaches who are making and having accepted massive proposals to their hospitals, to their organizations, in companies in their areas, like corporate wellness. I'm talking anywhere from like $100,000 to $500,000 proposals.
Crazy.
Getting accepted and offered to nurse coaches. Crazy, but like at the same time, why? Why would that be crazy? Big organizations spend so much money on so much garbage that finally they're understanding the health and wellness of my people, of my employees matters. And that's going to have an impact on the overall health of business, right?
100%. Yes. Yeah. So there's like infusing it right where you're at.
Yep.
There's nurse coaches who get super creative and very often are like talking with their like CNO or management to create new positions for themselves, which I think is fascinating. When I was working in hospital, like there's no way. Like when I thought of the chief nursing officer, I was like, oh, I couldn't possibly talk to them. They're way too big and smart and far above my pay grade. Like I just keep my head down and do the work. But no, something about becoming a nurse coach really emboldens you and empowers you. And they've been able to just create extraordinary positions for themselves, often coaching other providers inside the hospital, like nurses and staff members, to keep them healthy and well. Yeah, it's absolutely awesome to see that level of innovation happening just right within the field without having to really go out and change anything.
And then I think there are also so many nurse coaches who are really finding their place by partnering with other providers that exist somewhere in the realm of holistic healing, of alternative modalities. So whether that's partnering with any kind of primary care provider or a naturopath or a functional medicine provider, a general wellness center. Nurse coaches are opening their own wellness centers, running wellness retreats. So it's this really awesome kind of umbrella that allows you to partner with whoever you want to be partnering with, but also to bring in all of these other modalities, right? And we have nurse coaches who have their practices primarily as nurse coaches, but they bring in energy healing, they bring in healing touch, they bring in, any
yoga,
of these.
They bring in meditation, they bring in
breath work,
kite surfing retreats.
Yes.
And so I think what you're hitting on is that final edge of the spectrum, right? Over here, we have nurse coaching being implemented at the bedside. And then you begin to innovate within the organization where you're at, begin to create jobs for yourself and to kind of take it up to that second level. And then there's the nurse coaches who go and find different jobs. They really step it up. And then there's that final edge of the spectrum where nurse coaches are creating their own businesses, their own private practices, and thriving in there. And that can look so different. It can look like a one-on-one practice. It can be virtual. It can be in person. It can look like hosting retreats, starting a wellness center where you create a community of other like-minded practitioners to work alongside you to offer what we all have been looking for such a long time, which is all of those healing modalities all under one roof, all under one location. And I think when I really step back, and what's important to talk about here is that this is just what's possible right now, right? And it's just kind of getting started. And I think it's important to whoever's listening to know that we're going to talk about these in more detail later on, but as nurse coaches, me and you often say you're only limited by your creativity inside of this role. Yes. And what does that mean? Well, it means that the more creative that you're willing to get, the more you can truly create that dream practice for yourself. I mean, sometimes it just gets handed to you, right? Sometimes it just falls into your lap, but very often it takes work and it takes effort, but it is so freaking possible. I mean, just taking out a few case studies of some of the nurse coaches on our team, right? They're earning what they earned at the bedside, working a few days a week, no weekends, no holidays. I mean, I didn't think that was possible when I was working in bedside because I didn't know it existed. And so I think it's important to know that it does exist. It is possible.
And then when we became nurse coaches, and that was part of we wanted to prove to ourselves that we could be successful in private practice, that people were willing to pay for it, that we could not only match our previous nursing income, but move beyond that. We still didn't know that it was possible on a massive scale, right? We didn't know that that was going to be so possible for so many nurse coaches.
And I think you've said this a number of times, which is that this is a really good time to get into the field. And I think the reason is because a lot of the groundwork's already been laid. I don't know what they're at in terms of minute miles these days. They have 4 minute miles, somewhere around there.
Absolutely.
The first time they broke the 6 minute mile was probably crazy. And then the 5 minute mile, and then the 4 minute mile, right? It's every time that we reach this new tier of what's possible inside of nurse coaching, it's okay.
Oh, somebody breaks that limit and then
so you broke that limit and now it's possible for all of us. And there's a pathway to do it. And so I think for us, when we started, there was a slower ramp up because we didn't really, we were trying to pull from other industries to put it together. And I think now we're seeing just even before they graduate, how many nurses are creating new positions for themselves, are earning money in their private practice, have multiple paying clients. It's absolute madness. And
have multiple paying clients before they even graduate and are earning double, sometimes triple what they used to earn. And I think, these are the questions that nurses so commonly ask, because they, many of us nurses, like, we're the primary breadwinners for our families. So knowing that we can have financial stability as a part of our professional life and our professional well-being is an incredibly important question to ask. I think, in fact, we should have an entire episode just dedicated to talking about money and income and what you can earn, because sometimes we're afraid to ask that. We're afraid to say, like, hey, I care about making a good living. Of course, I care about helping people, but I also care about being able to take care of myself financially. We shouldn't be afraid of that. We should know and have confidence that when we step into a new field in nursing, that it's going to be able to serve and support us. And that said, I also want to really reiterate that money is a huge part of our overall well-being, but it's also not the be-all and end-all, in that I never want anyone to make a decision, just like I never wanted you to go back to anesthesia just for the money, because I think it would have, later on caught up to you. I never want anyone to become a nurse coach just for the money, just because they hear about, making a $500,000 proposal, or they hear about having a private practice and working 2 days a week and earning more than you ever used to at the bedside. Those are awesome stories to aspire to and to let you know what's possible. And it is so possible. But I also want there to be more than that, right? Like to tune into what are all of the other things that are important to you? What are all of the other areas of your professional fulfillment and your personal well-being that you want to be taking away?
Awesome. Did we do it? Did we talk about the program in enough? I mean, I think that the invitation is go to nursecoachcollective.com.
Yep.
Check out our work, check out the reviews, check out what it looks like. Hop on a call with us and figure it out, because we can talk about this, and we are going to continue to talk about what's possible in the field. But it's always different to hash it out and talk it over with a real person. But we have literally just devoted the past 9 months of our life to re-upping our offering here and making it even better than it has been for the past few years, and investing all this time and energy on our end, so that way this can truly be like the ultimate training for nurses to become board certified nurse coaches. I couldn't be happier with the results, with what we've achieved, but yeah.
Somebody asked me that the other day, and a nurse asked me, she was like, so you've been doing this for 5-6 years. From the moment that you created the course and you created the content and the curriculum, she was like, has it changed between then and now, or has it really stood the test of time? And it was funny, because as I heard that question, I was like, man, thanks for presenting the two options, because I realized my first response, my gut response, was going to be like, oh, it's changed. Oh, it's evolved. We're constantly innovating. But then I also realized, and the core foundations of this work have stood the test of time. The core foundations of the content and the curriculum have stood the test of time. And that just goes to show that, like, this isn't going anywhere. You don't have to worry that you're going to learn something and then it's going to be outdated, 5 years from now, because it's not. Like, this is the stuff that is here to stay.
We've just gotten more focused and more able to disseminate the information. We've gotten better sweaters.
I do. We look better on camera. We're more comfortable. You're going to enjoy learning from us more now. Hopefully we make you laugh a whole lot more than we were able to in our nervous beginner imposter phase in the beginning 5 years ago. And on top of that, we highly, highly value honest, transparent feedback from every single student who goes through this course. We mandate an anonymous evaluation, and we ask the tough questions, right? We ask, what can we improve? What can we do better? What was missing? What would you do differently if you created this course? And then at the end of every single collective, we go back, we review that, we evaluate, and then we go back to the drawing board and we make those improvements. So
awesome. Episode 3, boom. How to become a nurse coach. Go to nursecoachcollective.com, sign up for a free call with somebody on our team, and let the journey begin. I think those were great first few episodes. How are you feeling on your side?
I feel awesome. I feel great. I feel like we covered an enormous amount of ground. I think if you have never heard of nurse coaching before, then now hopefully you are feeling quite familiar, not only with what it is and what the program entails, but really like the deeper why behind it, and understanding what it's all about and why it's so meaningful. And if you're already a nurse coach, hopefully you're having tons of fun hanging out with me and Peter and getting to hear some of the stories, getting to be excited by all of the hopefulness that's inside of this field. And
it is truly just getting started. Nurses, nurse coaches, thanks so much for hanging out with us here today. Heather, great job. Thanks for having this awesome conversation. And y'all, we'll see you in the next episode.
You too, Peter. Really good job.
Thanks.